Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. The Knicks are back. Game one, preseason game one, that is, versus the Boston Celtics tonight. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 7:30 p.m., the New York Knicks take on the Boston Celtics at home in Madison Square Garden. And we'll get a chance to see what these Knicks are going to look like. You know what I mean? Tony, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling about tonight's game? You know what I mean? I know you're excited. I know I'm excited. We're all excited about it. You know what I mean? How you feeling, man?
I'm ready to go, man. I'm definitely excited, man. My hands been sweating all day, like I'm ready to get in the game. So,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Before we even get into just, looking at, what's been going on, looking at the game, talk about what's going on, looking at the game, and there's not going to be a lot to look at because, we don't know what the Knicks are going to be doing or what the Celtics are doing. The Celtics played last night, so we got a little bit of intel. But what are your takeaways from training camp before we even get into all of that? What are your takeaways?
I mean, the one guy that Tibbs has kind of shouted out was Sims.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, it's like business as usual. You know what I mean? Like most of the team is coming back. It's really about, as Tibbs would say, rebuilding them habits, rebuilding that chemistry, and kind of hitting the ground running, and really just relying on the familiarity of the team,
Right.
to take us. I won't say take us to new heights, but start us off strong.
Start us off strong. Right. And I think just what you said, I think that's the big thing coming out of camp. Continuity, chemistry. I think that was the biggest thing coming out of camp this year, is that the Knicks have continuity and chemistry. And I don't think that's going to be the Knicks aren't going to be the only team that focus on that. We seen last night when the Celtics played against Philadelphia, Derek White was the starting point guard. And I expect that to be tonight as well. Maybe sometime throughout preseason, the Celtics will start Drew Holiday. But the reason behind that, chemistry. He's been with those guys before, right? So let's get off to a strong start based on chemistry. In your mind, how far can chemistry take the Knicks?
I mean, I think number one is going to be a situation where I don't think there's a regression in this team this year. You know what I mean? When we looked at the first playoff year to the second playoff year, even though a lot of the team was brought back, I don't think it benefited us that year. Mm-hmm. I think this year is going to be a little bit different. I think it's more talented than it was in the past when we kind of had that same motto of trying to keep that that chemistry. Mm-hmm. So we talking about year two of Brunson, who has been, everything is advertised, if not more. The buzz around certain circles has been he could still improve, which, you know what I mean, it's like we can't even think of put into words what Brunson is as a better player. You know what I mean? Like, because we're so satisfied in what we've seen from him so far. But the big thing is not only just everybody coming back and the same team coming back. I think it's going to be really about the improvement of the guys. You know what I mean? So can RJ take another leap? Can Grimes take another leap? Can Quickly take another leap? Can Mitchell Robinson add some things to his game? Can Julius Randle, you know what I mean, just have that mental focus all year long, which it seems like this is the happiest he's been here. So I think a lot of things are just falling in line as far as that continuity. I think it could take us further than last year, honestly. Further than last year.
And from I know a long pause there. I know. I'm trying to make sure I have my thought together. Tom Thibodeau has basically said that out of preseason, he'll have his lineups together. And that's been different from years past, right? In the past three years that Tom Thibodeau's been the head coach, he's always said, we might be going into the first few weeks of the season before we exactly know who the lineup is. It never really turned out to be true. You know what I mean? He kind of had an idea of who it was. But now you see he's like, by the time training camp is done, or not training camp, but preseason is done, I'll know my rotations. I'll know who's in the lineup and who's playing. And that's a step forward in and of itself, right? Because in the past, it took a couple of weeks into the season before he really knew. And we would see, around the end of November, early December, lineup changes, right? Because he's still trying to figure out that lineup.
Sim, do you think that's an adjustment for Tibbs? Or, either way, it's an adjustment. But do you think this is him saying, maybe I second guessed myself in the past, or I wasn't definitive early on in the past, and now I'm just gonna go out the gate with what with the decision that I was keeping in the back of my mind before. You know what I mean? Like we've always heard him talk highly of Grimes,
right?
And then slowly but surely, this first opportunity, Grimes is in that starting lineup. You know what I mean? And that's almost like, this is what I wanted the whole time. But I was kind of, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I really think it's a product of continuity. He knows his team. He knows who his starting lineup was from last year. You know what I'm saying? So he's not going to change that lineup right now, at least at the beginning. For the most part, he knows who the bench players are from last season. And he's got the same bench players besides, Obi's not there. Now you have Dante DiVincenzo. So I think it points more to the continuity of the team, the chemistry of the team, as well as I think in the past 2 seasons, he had new players coming in that he wasn't really sure if they were going to be his type of players. Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker, right? I don't think he was exactly sure about those dudes coming in. But Dante DiVincenzo, he knows about everybody else on the team. And now Dante DiVincenzo is coming in. You know what I mean? I think he likes Dante. He knows what Dante brings. And I think knows that Dante is one of his type of players. You know what I'm saying? So I think it has to do with that. He knows what he has right now, which is a very, very good thing for a coach. You're not fishing for answers. There's still going to be some questions, but those questions you might know the answers to. You may know that those answers aren't on the team right now. But for some other questions, all right, who's playing this coming off the bench? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? I think he has the answers to those things besides one answer. That's that backup power forward. And maybe we don't have the answer to that. Maybe he already has the answer to that. Maybe we're the ones that don't have the answer to that. You know what I'm saying? So I think they probably feel good about the way that they're coming into the season. You know what I mean? With the continuity and the chemistry. So I think that's probably, for me, the biggest takeaway for the camp. Another takeaway is Jericho Sims, right? Because we're asking about that backup power forward spot. And Tom Thibodeau has said that he's been impressed with Jericho Sims. We talked about it on your show just a couple of hours ago. Do you see Jericho Sims being able to fit into a 10-man rotation?
I do. I see him fitting in as the backup 5 alongside Hartenstein. at times. Because now you're giving guys kind of the same, I'll say, offensive abilities or offensive prowess as Mitchell Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that lob threat, big body rebounding threat. I think in some aspects he's better defensively. Maybe not at the rim, but away from the rim. I think his footwork and him guarding guys a little bit outside the block is good. So I could see him fitting in spots. I could definitely see him filling in. Obviously, if somebody goes down, knock on wood, hopefully not. So yeah, I could see him carving in a short stint in the second unit. I spoke about it earlier, maybe a 10-man roster where that 10th spot is interchangeable from night to night.
From night to night. So, like that 10th spot, Jericho Sims one night, Evan Fournier, say, another night. Or I still find it hard to believe that Evan Fournier is going to see the court much. But I would say I guess it's possible, especially if the Knicks suffer some injuries. With Jericho Sims, I think that Jericho Sims from the beginning of the season is going to carve out 10 to 12 minutes a game. Kind of Obi numbers, right? I think Tom Thibodeau is going to experiment with the lineup and see if the Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein lineup really does work for a sustained amount of time. And try to figure out, is it too slow? Is there enough rim protection? Can they rebound the basketball? We know they're going to be able to rebound the basketball. Is there enough shooting? I think he's going to try it and see. You know what I mean? We've seen it from the beginning of the season. Each year, he will, have some guys in the lineup, and then he'll cut the lineup down. You know what I mean? So I think we'll get a chance to see Jericho Sims early on in the season. He's raved about his progress. I think he's going to give him a shot. What do you think has impressed Tibbs? Because we've seen what Jericho Sims can do. It's hard for me to believe that he's doing something that we haven't seen. Right?
Well,
Or is he doing something we haven't seen?
I look at it like, what would I want to see from Sims, right? Mm-hmm. If I was in that coaching staff day in and day out, what would be one of the things that I may not have told Sims, but then I'd be like, I would notice if he came out and just been more aggressive. You know what I mean? Like more assertive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that would be a surprise. And it would be a pleasant surprise. So I'm speculating here. I have no idea what Tibbs has seen from him. Mm-hmm. But that would be something that I would be like, oh, that would be a good change from him. Like, oh, he's inserting himself more. I wouldn't expect him to be more vocal, especially at his age. So just being more aggressive, both offensively and defensively. He's kind of been a guy who you just insert and he's not gonna mess anything up, you know what I mean? But he's not gonna try anything, you know what I mean? He's not gonna not necessarily create for himself, but just like I said, be more aggressive or assertive. That would be a huge, make it a world of difference.
Right.
Just because of he has ability.
Right.
And talent.
Right. You see, Julian Blum says he thinks Sims developed a jump shot. I'm gonna tell you what, if Jericho Sims developed a jump shot, that in and of itself would be something that would show Tom Thibodeau he needs to be in the lineup, right? And listen, Mitchell Robinson is going to be your starter, no doubt about it, but it would put some pressure on Mitchell Robinson if Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims can both shoot a jump shot and Mitchell Robinson isn't there yet, that'll put some pressure. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson, his defensive prowess and all of those things are always going to come into play. I think if he developed a jump shot, I think that would be impressive to Tibbs. I also think his aggressiveness, right, his ability to use his body. He hasn't been a great shot blocker. If he's learned how to use his athleticism to block shots or to change shots, I think would be impressive. You know what I mean? He's also, I think he's shown the ability to, he's not going to do this all the time, but if he's in trouble, he can't get the ball to a guard to advance the ball up the floor and then get the ball to a guard. I think he's shown some ability to do that as well. So I'm interested to see what Jericho Sims is going to look like. Hit him up said, Sims's body is not built to be a jump shooter, maybe a floater. Well, I would think his body is built more to be a jump shooter than a floater. Jericho Sims has a similar body to Charles Oakley, and Charles Oakley developed a really good mid-range jump shot.
And I'll take it as far as part of me saying being aggressive and assertive is shooting a jump shot. I think he had. I mean, you mentioned it earlier on Knicks and Bruises. First, two threes in his first preseason game ever, right? Like, so even coming out the gate out of rookie year, he showed that he can shoot. I think within the league, he's been. I'm not even going to say confined in his role. I think he kind of always stayed in his role and never looked, never looked for maybe turning down opportunities. Just look to, if I get the rebound, let me find the outlet pass. You know what I mean? Right. If I'm down low and I get the rebound, all right, I got a shot. You know what I mean? I'll shoot it then, but never just been that extra aggressive, assertive guy. So I think jump shooting is part of it. If you open, shoot it.
Yeah, and hopefully he does. Another takeaway, well, I don't know if this is a takeaway coming out of camp. This is a question that I have coming out of camp. What happens to Deuce? Where does Deuce fit in all of this now? Or does he? Because with Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Emmanuel Quickley in that second unit, it's hard for me to see where Deuce plays. You know what I mean? Besides, Knicks and Knights says spot minutes. Yeah, some spot minutes here and there, but I'm not seeing, unless his offensive game really stepped up and he's gotten even better defensively, it's hard for me to see where he's going to fit. And even if he does, if his offensive game did step up and he got better defensively, who is Tom Thibodeau going to play him over? These guys got contracts.
Right now he's insurance policy. You know what I mean? If Quickly is moved, you know what I mean? Like that's the only way I see him getting minutes moving forward at this point. You spoke about Dante. I think he can actually get some spot point minutes. So even if Quickly is not here, you know what I mean? That doesn't automatically open the door for him. So I agree. Shout out to somebody in the chat. They said G League championship. You know what I mean? Like
that's what it's looking like for my man Deuce. That's what it's looking like. Shout out to I Am Jarrell. He said, I'd be completely shocked if Sims developed a consistent jumper. I checked to see if cats and dogs were coming down outside. Yeah, I dig it. I dig what you're saying. Keith Turner about Jericho Sims said, I just don't see Sims as a 4. And he has the same game as Mitchell Robinson. Can I see a jump shot from him, please? I agree. I don't see Sims as a 4. I see Sims as a 5. And if he were to play in that lineup, I think Hartenstein would be the 4 while Sims is playing the 5.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Definitely, without a doubt. But those are, some things, some takeaways from camp. Obviously, you have Brunson and Grimes and Barrett and Randall. I mean, that lineup is pretty much set. There's some question about Quentin Grimes and if Dante DiVincenzo can jump into that starting spot. There's some questions there. But for the most part, that group is set. I think questions or any takeaways from that group, that starting group, yeah, we haven't heard much, about those guys.
I mean, the only thing is, does Mitchell Robinson's game expand at any in any length at all offensively?
Right.
I'm happy with what he does, but if he can add one or two moves, which I think it did come out that he worked on one or two go-to moves or something to that extent, or one or two post moves. I think I read that early in the offseason. So be nice to see that one of them translate.
That'd be nice to see. He's got to show it in practices and camps, and then I think Tom Thibodeau will give him a couple.
I'll say this: by the end of last year, before the playoffs, we did see Mitchell Robinson really starting to seal a smaller defender on him, run to the post if there's a small guy on him, do a seal, and I think that's step one, trying to seal that guy behind you, especially if it's a mismatch. And then from there, it's really about using your length and what finish you want to pull off.
Right. We'll see, man. We'll see from Mitchell Robinson. New players. Let's talk about some of the new players real quick. Obviously, for the New York Knicks, Dante DiVincenzo is the new guy. Right? He's the new guy. He's the guy that people, that's the Knicks' big offseason splash. Right? What are you expecting to see from Dante DiVincenzo tonight? Or what do you want to see from Dante DiVincenzo tonight?
I'm not expecting much, but really a little bit of everything. I think that's what he's capable of. I think he could easily give you, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Obviously more than 5 points, but I'm just a little bit of everything. I definitely want to see if he can have some ball handling. I'm laughing because Josh in the background, the old talk we had. So definitely some ball handling and playmaking. Let's see what he brings in that aspect.
Yeah. I want to see, me personally, I want to see the shooting, obviously. I want to see the quick shooting. We're not going to see it all tonight, but, just in the preseason as a whole, you know what I mean? I want to see the quick shooting. I want to see his ability to handle the basketball. I want to see if Tom Thibodeau is going to expand some of that offense to capitalize on the things that he can do offensively, to capitalize on his skill set. You know what I mean? Other than that, the Knicks don't have any other new players. That's it. You know what I mean? That's it. So is Josh Hart, I don't want to say Josh Hart or bust, but, we're looking to see what Josh Hart can do and how he can help this team to get better. We talk about continuity. The thing with Josh Hart is that, he's got some chemistry or history with, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and those guys. So, that can help at least a little bit, not a whole lot, but it helps a little bit when those guys are on the floor together. You know what I mean? Uncle Fulio, Josh, what's going on with you, my brother? How you feeling, man?
Salute, Sam. Salute, Tony. Salute to the NBK fam. Salute to the cat out there. We're back. New York Knicks basketball is back. Preseason game 1. Can't wait to new wrinkles or continuity thing that the Knicks are trying to sell us, if it's actually going to come to fruition, right? So I'm very excited for this team, and hopefully we can continue to build on the foundation that was laid, 3 years ago when the front office came in. We got Tom Thibodeau, and we continue to build on that foundation. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, I'm just ready to get going.
You said that they're trying to sell us. So you don't believe the Knicks have continuity?
He ain't buying it yet.
Thank you, Sam, for attempting to spin that around. I didn't say the Knicks don't have continuity. That's all they have to really sell us. That's all they have. The roster, to me, has not improved that much, in my opinion. I mean, I like Dante DiVincenzo as a player, but I still think he didn't fill the holes that we need. We already went over this. We spoke about this before. And continuity is all they have to sell us, right? That's all we really have as a fan base to really go on for this particular team for them to show improvement. It's the continuity and the camaraderie. That's all we have.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's what we have, and hopefully, it's going to prove. It's going to prove to help this team to get better. You know what I'm saying? We'll see how much it does help the team to get better. As we spoke on earlier, like the Boston Celtics just picked up Drew Holiday, but they still start Derek White, at least in the first preseason game, because of the continuity thing. You know what I mean? So we'll see how far that definitely goes with the Knicks this season. It'll definitely be a help early in the season, which they'll need it because they got a challenging schedule early in the season. So they'll need as much help as they can get. Let's talk about some of the Celtics' new players. Kristaps Porzingis, right? We'll go with Kristaps Porzingis first. And shortly, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to, compare and look at lineups and stuff like that. But let's talk about KP and how he fits and works with the Boston Celtics. Obviously, I think it's a good fit. They do miss some toughness, right? Because you got rid of Grant Williams, you got rid of Robert Williams, so you're missing some of that toughness on the inside. Tony, I know you watched them last night. What was your take on the Celtics?
I mean, Kristaps looked good. I can't take nothing away from his game and how he's going to help them. I think he'll help them tremendously. Me personally, I feel like they would have been better off moving Horford and keeping one of them Williams brothers. To me, it's going to be an old school reference, but getting rid of the Williams brothers was like the Pacers getting rid of the Davis brothers. You know what I mean? Back in the day, like those guys were the enforcers, and that was the biggest takeaway that I saw watching their game. That they are a better and more versatile team than in the past. But if I had to look for a chink in the armor, it is that toughness. You know what I mean? That toughness down low, and I think that's where they could potentially get exposed by not just us, but you know what I mean, some of the other big dogs in the league.
Yeah, anyone. This is I say it again. This is the gentrified version of the Boston Celtics. You know what I mean? They had some grit and grind with Marcus Smart and the Williams. They're not really brothers, but I don't think they're brothers, right? They weren't brothers, right? They're just same last name. But the Williams brothers, so you had some grit and grime, and now you're a little bit more polished. With KP and Drew Holiday, not as much grit and grime. Is that polish going to help them, though? I mean, I can see where it can help. If they can find at least one gritty person down low, that polish can help them a lot. I mean, picking up Drew Holiday was big for him because he adds some of that grit, you know what I mean, and toughness. So I think that was so huge for the Celtics.
Can I just add, on paper, I feel like they improved tremendously, but I'm not 100% sold on them, like moving forward. I don't know if they're better built for the playoffs, and I also think that this is actually going to be the most pressure that Jason Tatum has ever been under in his life. Last year was his most pressure. I think every year prior to, it was more of going with the flow. He's young. He's, you know what I mean? Like, wait till who he's going to be. I think this is like the first time that they're not looking at him like, oh, what is he going to be in his prime? I think they feel like these are glimpses of his prime right now. Mm-hmm. And then with the recent upgrades that the team made, that's only added more pressure to the situation. When they traded for Kyrie, it was pressure, but then Kyrie was out, right? So that relieved a lot of that pressure or expectation of what the team is capable of. And then they did well, and then it was almost, you know what I mean, like these cycles that they've been through. They've been great for years, but they've been young, and it was always that they got time. They got time. What, you know what I mean? What are they going to be when they're finished? Now I think they're closer to, those prime years. So I think that pressure
Yeah,
might be strenuous for them.
it will be, but that's why I think Drew Holiday comes in on that basketball team. You know what I'm saying? I think he helps in that department. That help to relieve some of that stress. He's never been he's never been as celebrated as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? In that regards, all NBA, all that kind of stuff. So maybe he hasn't had to deal with the pressure that they're dealing with, but he's been with players that have had to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And had those questions, and he was able to help. Obviously, in Milwaukee. Uncle Fulio, what's your thoughts about the Celtics? How they look, the new look Celtics?
So first and foremost, I just disagree with Tony slightly, right? I think ever since the Celtics got to the finals and Jason Tatum was on that stage, I think the pressure has been turned up ever since then, because I think right now Jason Tatum's a top 5 player in the NBA. He is. He's a top 5 player in the NBA, all NBA first team. So as long as they got that guy, Boston, what they're doing is they're preparing for the playoffs. That's what they're doing. And I know we were talking about this continuity argument for the Knicks. That same group of Robert Williams and Marcus Smart, that didn't really get them to the promised land, right? I mean, it got them close, but they didn't get over the top. So I think this is something new. That continuity didn't work for them when they got to that level. So they decided to change things up and bring in a player like Drew Holiday, who is going to help them still bring some of that toughness that, we say that they're missing with Grant Williams being gone and Marcus Smart. But also, he is a crafty ball handler. He can come in and handle the ball in the pinch. Along with what you got with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum already, I think this is going to help the Celtics in the playoffs, and that's why they made that move. And as far as Porzingis is concerned specifically, what I wanted to pay attention to was how they're going to use Porzingis, whether he played the 5 or the 4. So I think the starting lineup they had last night was Horford and Porzingis, which I believe Horford played the 5 and Porzingis played the 4, which I think is big for the Celtics moving forward, not having Porzingis at the 5, being able to use Porzingis a little bit more offensively in a little bit in a spread out fashion. So I think that's going to pay dividends for the Celtics come playoff time. Regular season, they're not worried about regular season. They're still going to be one of the top teams in the East, but come playoff time, I think this is going to pay dividends for them.
Yeah. I think there is a little bit of a hiccup player-wise. They definitely had the same players, for a while, and then they go to a finals.
Yeah.
Right? They went to the NBA Finals 2 years ago. I think, some of their continuity was broken up with coaching changes. I think that definitely made a difference in whether or not, where they are. But, they got to a level, and they're hoping that these guys can put them over the top. I still feel like they're going to be missing this spirit piece that I think is missing. We'll see who steps in, if somebody can step in and bring that to them. But I feel like there's that spirit piece that's going to be missing a little bit. You know what I mean? But they offensively, they're going to be super tough to deal with. You know what I mean? They got, they can put 5 guys on the court that can go get it. They go get them a bucket, that can play together, that can shoot the ball. It's going to be tough to deal with, but they still got to get it done on the court. You know what I mean? They still got to get it done on the court.
Well, one quick thing that I'll say is the concern with me for Boston is going to be injuries in that front court, right? Porzingis, we already know about his history of issues, right? Marcus Smart, Al Horford is not getting any younger, right? So I think if one of those guys goes down, how they're going to be able to put that new lineup on the floor, whether it be Porzingis at the 5, and then I think that can cause some issues with them as far as the current continuity that they're supposed to have. Right, so injuries and potential injuries in that front court is going to be probably something to look out for when it comes to Boston. But if everybody stays healthy, you're correct. This team is going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I haven't seen anything as far as any kind of injury reports or players who are not playing Do you have any? Have you seen any updates anywhere?
I have not.
I
Personally.
haven't as either, but I wouldn't be surprised if they play a different. They play with less players coming off the back-to-back in the preseason, but
Right.
that's the only thing I'm basing that off of.
No, that makes sense. I mean, KP was, he had some injury last year, but he was pretty much on the court. So I don't know. I mean, they played almost all of their starters and primary rotation players played about 20 to 25 minutes last night. So they may still see some minutes tonight. They want to work on that continuity, right? They want to build as much as possible heading into the season. So I think we still might see those guys play, even if it's not for a lot of minutes. We might see them play tonight. As for the Knicks, haven't heard of any injuries. Obviously there's questions about Jalen Brunson. Not Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and if he's going to play because he had an injured leg, injured ankle, whatever, went through surgery. As far as we know, he's going to play. Right? As far as we know, he's going to play, and haven't heard of anyone else, any questions about anybody else playing. So I'm assuming that the Knicks are going to have their regular starting group out there, right? And, for the New York Knicks, I'm expecting Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. And for the Boston Celtics, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. I know, Tony, you were on your show earlier, you were talking about, them, possibly just looking at lineups and whether they're going to start Horford and Kristaps Porzingis together, the entire season, or how they're going to do it. I think they probably, they're going to want to take another look at it again. You know what I mean? To see how it looks. I see that I believe those two guys should be able to play together. They can both shoot the ball from the perimeter. They can both do a little bit inside. So I don't see it being a problem unless you're playing a team that's small.
You're
And Horford and Porzingis can be able to defend both the 5 and the 4 also.
Say that again, Josh?
I said, and Porzingis and Horford can defend both the 5 and the 4, so they're very versatile. But the Celtics defensively are very versatile in that regard, depending on where they play.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tony. You were saying something?
No, I do know. They did say during that game, at some point they're gonna switch, get the look with Derek White on the bench and Holiday starting. So we may see that. You know what I mean? Before they go away from seeing what it looks like without the big lineup, with only one of those guys playing Horford or Kristaps starting. So I think they're gonna do various looks throughout the season. Throughout this preseason, just to kind of figure out what's right. So we may see Holiday start tonight, just to give that change up.
We could,
and then, or we may see that change up in the front court.
Right, and you could see Holiday start just so that they can, all right, let's see what this looks like. You know what I mean? And before they make their decision on what their starting lineups, benches are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. Based on last night, Derek White started, so I have Derek White in the starting lineup. Anything could change. You never know, right? Anything could change. When you look at the screen, Josh, I don't know if you can see the screen. Tony, I know you said you were going to have it up.
I can.
Right? What do you think about the matchups? And we don't know who, Thibodeau could have Mitchell Robinson guard Al Horford and Julius Randle guard Kristaps Porzingis. You know what I mean? What do you think about the matchups?
I'll go first. So I think every time we play Porzingis, he normally guards Mitchell Robinson, I believe, because of the height factor, like underneath the rim. So I think if the lineup is what it's going to be, I think we'll see that same thing. And also for us, I think Quentin Grimes is going to be guarding Jason Tatum. That's going to happen. Quentin Grimes, that role seems to be solidified for me as him being the guy to defend the other team's best winger guard player. And I think you'll see RJ on Jaylen Brown. Point guard matchups will be the same. And that's how it would be.
Okay. I think, I don't know. So you think Mitchell Robinson is going to guard Kristaps Porzingis or Julius Randle?
I think Kristaps Porzingis is going to guard Mitchell Robinson,
right.
But it'll be back up like the opposite for us.
Right. Okay. So, but you think Mitchell Robinson will guard Horford and Julius Randle will guard Kristaps Porzingis? That's probably what I think will happen too.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's better because KP can go off the dribble a little bit every once in a while, and you'll put you might put Mitchell Robinson in a disadvantage. Although Mitchell Robinson's been able to guard Giannis successfully on some occasions. So, I don't think Mitchell Robinson would be afraid to switch off on KP. But KP can shoot that 3 ball way better than Giannis. So now you're expecting Mitchell Robinson to close out on a 3 ball, which could prove to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I think definitely Randle will be on Kristaps Porzingis. I think that'll be his assignment, but you can see them, switching up a little bit. Horford can shoot the 3 too, but I don't think his shot is like Horford's got to wind up to shoot the 3 normally when he shoots it. KP can catch it on his fingertips and shoot it. You know what I mean? Tony, what do you think about the matchups?
Well, number one, I don't think nobody could stop Randle if Randle's playing. Yeah, like whoever's guarding him is gonna be a problem on that side. So that's one plus for us. I agree that I think Grimes will be on Tatum. My only concern is I think Tatum struggles a little bit more with height than he does with just a good on-ball defender. I think height bothers him a little bit more. I don't know how much RJ could help in that department because he's not quite the defender as Grimes, but I would like to see it switch up a little bit throughout the game. So hopefully we give Tatum multiple different looks and not just Grimes, where I think at some point, as good as Grimes is defensively, Tatum's just going to be able to just shoot over him.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be helpful. And he played bad. He had a relatively bad game last night. So if he does play, I expect him to come off hot. So just some things to look out for. I give Brunson the edge, obviously, with Derek White, even though he's a good defender. And I think we could wash potentially, hopefully, if it's a RJ on Brown matchup. I think we could even each other out. I'm a homer, Jai.
I know. I know.
Yeah. It's obviously a tough matchup for the Knicks, but I think the Knicks still match up well. The Celtics have more firepower than the Knicks, obviously. You know what I mean? But all the Knicks need is not all the Knicks need, but they need, one of the between Grimes and RJ and Mitch to be able to have a really good game, to offset, because you figure KP and Tatum and Brown are going to have, their games. Brunson and Randle are going to have their games. Now the Knicks need one to step up and match off with, a Tatum or Brown or a KP. You know what I'm saying? So if you assume that Randle's going to offset KP, right? Hopefully outplay him, but at least offset KP, right? You got Jalen Brunson, and, Derek White could have good, he's a good basketball player, could have good games, whatever, but you expect Brunson to do his thing. You need Mitch or RJ or Grimes to step up and have one of those type of games. You know what I mean? And then you still got, the bench that you got to worry about. Is Drew Holiday on the bench? Is he starting? We'll see what that looks like. If he's starting, that changes that starting lineup because, now you got Jalen Brunson and Drew Holiday who are going to be matched up against each other. And, that changes the lineup a little bit. Then you have the bench, right? I don't have the full matchup of both benches. But what do you give? Do you think the Knicks have a leg up on the bench?
So at first glance, I thought so. I thought, if the Celtics are going to win the starting lineup matchup, I think the Knicks, the way we stay in this ball game, is from our bench unit. But I look at the stats from last night. Peyton Pritchard had 26 points off the bench for Boston.
Yeah.
That's the guy that just got paid, and he can shoot.
Yeah, most of that was in the fourth as well. He had like 14.
Yeah, so Boston, I mean, their thing has always been about 3-point shooting. They got some shooters on their bench. Pritchard, Hauser can shoot. Luke Cornett, who we used to have, he can step out sometimes. So that's just the concern for me in regards to the bench. I still think, this is all preseason, so we don't know how this is going to translate to the regular season.
Right.
But I still think we have some dogs on our bench. I mean, obviously, if we're praising the Dante DiVincenzo move, hopefully he can step up in that regard, give us some 3-point shooting quickly. Hopefully he continues to take steps and progress moving forward. That's just how we're going to have to keep up in this game if they knock our 3-ball down. And I think we got some guys on the bench who can do that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
I think we got the bench advantage 100%. Even if Holiday is on that second unit, we still have a guy like Hart that could go ahead and start on Holiday defensively, quickly. He's liable to drop 20 off the bench. What can we get? We've seen it, Josh. Come on, we've seen it.
I didn't say nothing. No, you got it, Tony. You got it.
Facial expressions. Dante, what we get from him, but I think that's an advantage there. And then again, we're not acclimating anyone really besides DiVincenzo. So I think that helps our bench just as much as it helps our starters. If not, it might even help more that our bench is kind of the same thing coming back other than one guy.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the bench, you're right. Pritchard had 26 coming off the bench last night. Drew Holiday, 6 points, 5 rebounds. You're not, you would expect that, that's going to change. Right now he's getting comfortable, right? Who also was off the bench? Luke Cornett, 4 points, 3 rebounds. Sam Hauser didn't have any points. O'Shea Brissett had 7 points, 4 rebounds. Delano Banton had 5 points. I mean, when you look at their bench, you're really, right now you're talking about Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard.
Brissett, that's the kid Brissett. He played well. He played well.
Yeah. He played 17 minutes, 7 points, 4 rebounds. I mean, Sam Hauser, we've seen him be able to, have a couple of nights, but you're not looking at a terribly deep bench, right? I do think the Knicks have a deeper bench than the Celtics. Emmanuel Quickly, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jericho Sims, possibly. We'll see. I think he does get some playing time today, and then Hartenstein. But between Quickly, DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart, I think those are guys who can, let's put it like this. Either one of those 3 guys could start for the New York Knicks, I think. You know what I'm saying? So I think the Knicks definitely have the advantage on the bench. There's going to be a lot of teams that the Knicks play where they have the bench advantage. I think the Knicks are going to rely on the bench a lot this season to produce. And sometimes if the Knicks starters are either being, outscored, or if the Knicks starters are, even with the opposing team, the Knicks bench, we're hoping, can come in and give the Knicks a boost. You know what I'm saying? What do you want to see from the Knicks bench, though, Tony?
Real quick, let me just shout out J Boog. He just called a little second ago. That's what I was on the phone with. I told him I'll shout him out. So shout out to J Boogie. The bench, really IQ. I want to see how he comes out. If he could, I mean, I'm not really worried about the bench. I guess the biggest thing really is that backup 4 spot. Does it go to Hart? Do we see Hartenstein with Sims as a front court. But I'm not really, and then just how DiVincenzo fits. Does he come out, gunning? Is he hesitant? Is he shy? Which I don't think he will be. Um, I mean, I'm almost more excited to see the second unit than the first unit. Just to see how they mesh and how good they really can be, because I really do think we could have one of the top 5 second units in the league.
Okay. I hear you what you're saying about Jericho Sims. I think we'll see Jericho Sims some tonight, but I also think we're going to see RJ play backup power forward, and that doesn't mean he's coming up the bench, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to play backup power forward with Julius Randle.
Backup power forward, yeah.
Right. but people already on it. When they asked him about playing backup power forward, RJ said he's cool with coming off the bench. I don't think that's what they were meaning. I think it was him playing backup power forward. But I do think that Jericho Sims will get some burn, but we're also going to see RJ play some of that backup power forward tonight. You know what I mean?
And let's not forget, you know what I mean, those forgotten guys or those guys we haven't seen yet. Roby, do we see any minutes from him? What's the other guy? Nathan Knight. Do they get any minutes at all?
All right. I don't know if they get any tonight, to be honest with you. I think they get those minutes later on in the preseason. I think tonight he's going to rely mainly on his, rotation guys. You know what I mean? Spread the minutes out. Maybe you see Deuce. You might see Deuce in some minutes. I think he's going to rely on those guys mainly tonight. Then later on in the preseason, maybe you see some of those other guys start to get sprinkled in. I think, though, because, he kind of knows who he has and probably is coming into came into training camp in the season with a really good idea of what he wants to do. I think it does open it up a little bit more for those other guys to play some minutes, though. In the past, those guys would barely even play. I think it opens it up a little bit more for those guys to play minutes because he has an idea of what these guys, who his team is. You know what I mean? Josh, you look like you was going to say something.
Yeah. For what it's worth, last night's game, the Celtics played 12 people yesterday, and Philly played 15. So there's hope somewhere out there that we're all going to see some of these other guys. I know Tom Thibodeau is very rigid when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the preseason, we've seen him be kind of rigid, only 10-man rotation in the preseason, but hopefully he will be able to expand it a little bit more. And I remember before I came on, I do remember y'all talking about Tibbs, like knowing what he wants to do coming out of training camp. And hopefully that's going to be the lineup that he sticks with. I'm not buying that personally because we've seen Thibodeau adjust and make some lineup changes, rotation changes throughout the course of the season, and he sticks with that at a certain point before he moves forward. So, and I think most coaches leave themselves open for making adjustments and things of that nature during the course of the regular season. So I'm not buying the whole thing about Tibbs knowing what he wants to do and having that be the lineup throughout the course of the season. I'm not buying, quite frankly.
I mean, for the most part, there's really only one adjustment that he has to make, and that's acclimating DiVincenzo. Yeah. If we're going by historically and him running a 9-man rotation, the 9 guys are set. It's really about how minute distribution. So I that's why I think this time it may be a little bit different. Now, if he's expanding the rotation to 10,
right?
You know what I mean? I think now he has to have more of a open outlook. But the way things are, I mean, it's really about minutes distribution as opposed to who's in or who's out the rotation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I don't think that. I think he's going to start the season knowing what, having down, okay, this is the lineup I'm going with. I don't think that means he won't make a change to it if he sees it's necessary. But I think in the past, like we were talking about earlier, he would. They'd ask him about it, and he'd say, "Well, I think we might be going, maybe another 3 weeks into the season, as we're really looking at these lineups." I think he has kind of, okay, this is my starting five, this is my bench right now, and to tell you the truth, I think he has his lineups right now in his head. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to look to see if anything, makes him change his mind. Let's put it like that. Can anybody make me change my mind? I think that's probably where he is. The starting group that we have, that we seen on the screen, I think that's the starters that he has in his mind coming into the season. All right. And then the bench that we had, I think that's the bench. Well, I'm not sure about Jericho Sims. And if there's any lineups that he's really questioning, I think it's the bench area. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think it's the bench. That's where he's looking to see, okay, who am I going to use in this situation, that situation, or whatever it is. But I guess we'll see tonight. I'm excited. I'm excited, though. I tell you that. I'm definitely excited. Josh, let me ask you this just real quick before we just move on to anything. I want to talk about what to watch for in preseason. Is Julius Randle going to wear Skechers tonight?
I think so.
And I'm not even laughing at the Skechers thing. It just intrigues me. And I know Coach Favre, if he's listening, I seen him in the chat. He's going, "Oh, you bringing this up again?" Listen, it intrigues me, right? Because I just like to see business deals and business moves, and how things work in that aspect, right? And Skechers is it seems like they're trying to make a push to get into the NBA. You know what I mean? You think he's going to wear them tonight and all season? Or do you think it's just like maybe this is part of Skechers, part of their research and development, and seeing how these, like training camp, or maybe preseason too, research and development. Let me see how these shoes work. What do we got to do? Let me get some feedback from Randall, from Terrence Mann, and then we take that back to the drawing board. What do you think?
I think a little bit of both. I think there's a little bit of that R&D, and I think that he is getting, he's getting some money from Skechers, right? I think they're in a little bit of a partnership. I think we'll see him wear Skechers throughout the preseason. And maybe some games during the regular season. There hasn't been any like specific Julius Randle's a Skecher basketball athlete now that hasn't been put out there yet. But I think it's a little bit of both, a little bit of the R&D and a little bit of him, going out to wear them and wear the Skechers brand.
Yeah,
took some pictures in them. So
he took some pictures in them, no doubt about it. Tony, what do you think, man?
If I'm his agent, I'm like, listen, we'll sign this training camp deal for your training basketball shoot, but you know what I mean. If you want me for the season, that's a whole new deal. I need a signature shoe and all that. So yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a training a training shoe. You know what I mean, like a workout shoe as opposed to like on court until they get things in motion. Yeah. So it's kind of like a startup type.
Well, if they do. I mean, the sneaker, it don't look bad, except for the logo. I'm not feeling the logo. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not feeling the logo. Take the logo off. Put Julius Randle's logo on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the tag, and put the S like on the bottom of the shoe or something like that. Not feeling the logo.
And that's the thing. Like, I would buy them just because they, you know what I mean? Like, if it becomes like Randle's shoe, I'd buy them just to buy them, just to support. But I agree that logo, and I heard a price point, which I don't know if it's true, where they said 140 to 180. If it's that price point, I'm not buying them. I'm not supporting. My bad. You know what I mean? Good for you. Getting your
140 to 180.
Yeah, I think that's
let's put it like this.
Out the gate.
I wouldn't expect that they're gonna sell that much. So if they price them at 140 to 180. In about 6 or 7 months, you can probably get them at Burlington for $34.99. Because I don't expect that they're gonna sell that much. You know what I'm saying? First of all, Julius Randle doesn't have that kind of star power.
Right.
Right. And then they're Skechers, so people are already kind of
sketchy.
Yeah, already kind of sketchy. You know what I'm saying? I hope that it works out well, though. You know what I'm saying? I like to see people go in a different route and do some things like that. Hey, I bought those Wilson Chandler ponies. They wasn't good sneakers, but I bought them. You know what I'm saying? They weren't good sneakers at all. I was like, man, Pony trying to come back. They need to come back with a better sneaker than this. But
what if Julius Randle's new agency is the one that set that up for him? Like the whole Skechers deal. And
it's possible. I mean,
I think it's entirely
actually
possible.
Likely. I think it's likely.
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. And it could be one of those factors that made him say, hey, I'm gonna move on over here because CAA wasn't trying to let me wear Nikes. I mean, wasn't trying to let me wear Skechers.
If they was like, yo, we got this big sneaker deal for you in the lineup, all you gotta do is sign, and then they say, oh yeah, it's Skechers. You know what I mean? I would be tight. Like they would have had to tell me everything up front.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Randall took a picture with the owner of Skechers. You know what I'm saying? The guy who, so, obviously they got something happening. I mean, I am Jarrell said I can't buy no ponies. I ain't gonna front, Jarrell. I got 2 pair of ponies, and I'm not even the Wilson Chandler. I got 2 pair, and I like them too. I've always been a pony fan though, even though they went out of style. Listen, I don't care. I like to buy sneakers, and I seen some ponies that I liked, and I bought them. I'll buy some more too if I like them. That's just me. That's how I roll.
If they cheap enough, I'll buy them because you never know what's gonna come back. And if you got them and they good, you might be able to flip them nowadays.
I think another question I'm thinking about with Skechers is like, are they promoting this basketball shoe for like a fashion thing for people to wear off the court, or is it just like an on court type of sneaker?
Yeah.
And I think if that's the case, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Julius Randle wearing them on the court. I just don't think, like you said, the logo's ugly. Skechers will never be like this fashion.
They're trying to get
brand.
there though. They're trying to get there. They got a partnership with Snoop, and to tell you the truth, they look pretty dope. They're basically like canvas shoes. They look pretty dope.
Right.
And then they got a partnership with Doja Cat. They made a Major League MLS shoe that I forgot who, but someone is wearing them. So, they're trying to get into. They're trying to get into it.
Yeah, the cleats.
Yeah, they're trying to get into it. You know what I mean? So they're doing some things. They're doing some. If anything, this is. I mean, we're talking about Skechers, so it's good for their marketing, right? It's good for their marketing. We got about 13 minutes before the Queen's Court comes on. All right, so I do want to these last 13 minutes. What are you really looking for throughout this preseason? The Knicks play tonight, and then they don't play again until Saturday, right? So they have an entire week to work on whatever they want to work on. Then they come back on Saturday. What are you looking forward to just for this preseason? What do you want to see? Josh, I'll start with you, Josh.
Okay. How the Knicks are going to run their offense? Now, I think I already know the answer to this question. The numbers don't lie since Tom Thibodeau's been here. The Knicks are one of the slowest offenses in the league. So I expect them to continue that. But how can they fit Dante DiVincenzo into that? I know I have my reservations about his role, his fit. But how the Knicks going to be able to use him and then spread the minutes out, like Tony was talking about earlier. How they're going to allocate the minutes. Quentin Grimes played 30 minutes last year during the regular season. Is that number going to stay the same? Is it going to go down? Who is going to lose minutes? Who's going to be the odd man out in a quote-unquote 9-man rotation? So that's just kind of what I'm looking forward to seeing in the preseason. Maybe we won't see that in the first game, but as the preseason goes along, we get towards the end, I think we'll kind of see how we're going to start out the gate. And that's just basically what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Okay. Tony?
Everything Josh said, and then just to add to it, I want to know who makes those final roster spots, right? Can even if these guys don't, like a Nathan Knight or a Roby, one of these guys that are 6'7" or above, I'm hoping one of those guys make the roster spot. And then, can they make their way into the rotation down the line? But to me, that's one of our only weaknesses. Is just us being so undersized. So if we could have a guy in the back training and getting ready and preparing and you know what I mean, developing, but have that guy on the roster, you know what I mean? I guess a two-way is just as good, but a roster spot, you know what I mean? So who makes that final cut or those final 2-3 cuts in Roby, Knight. I like Jalen Martin as well, but I think he's another 6'4" guy, 6'5" guy. But I really like him. So that's what I'm looking for through like these 4 games and the end of training camp.
Yeah. Those spots are definitely up for battle. You know what I mean? What the Knicks have 12 guaranteed spots right now, something like that. So, there's 3 guaranteed spots that are still available. And, so there's definitely going to be a battle, which means Tom Thibodeau has got to find some time to let these guys play so that he can see what they can do out there on the court. Some of them like Dylan Windler, right? He probably knows a little bit about what he can do, because he's seen some of these guys play. So he's got to let them guys get out there on the court. I want to see the ball handling from Dante DiVincenzo. I want to see I want to see the Knicks offense expand. Right? I think it's definitely needed. I want to see the chemistry. I want to see has it grown between Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, Jalen Brunson. I want to see how much that chemistry has grown. And I want to see the Knicks get out there and defense, man. Defense. I want to see the defense. We should have guys out there on the floor. We have guys out there on the floor that we know can play some defense. I want to see these guys get down and dirty and play some defense because that's how.
Force some turnovers.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Finish the defense with a rebound, all of that. I want to see them guys get out there and play some D. Any predictions on tonight? I know it's just preseason, but any predictions, anything, not just about wins or losses.
I got one about, let's see, game be over by 10, 11:30. About 11:45, 12 o'clock, Losers Lounge. We back.
No doubt. I'm looking forward to it too, man. Losers Lounge. I'm looking forward to it. Any predictions though? Josh, anything?
Only thing I'll say is I think Jalen Brunson comes out hot out the gate, plays his little 20 minutes, and then we'll get some reinforcements in there. I think it'll be high scoring, so 115, 110 either way. Yeah. I'm not going to predict a winner.
Yeah,
it'll be high scoring.
I think my only prediction is both teams are going to do some stuff, but because they play each other so many times throughout the next month, I don't think you see everything come out. I think they save some for the regular season. Like as far as adjustments and schemes and strategies and stuff like that. I think right now it's just going to be straight. We're getting out here and hooping. You know what I'm saying? I actually think the Celtics they might come off to a little bit of a lead because the Knicks are going to have to get their first wind. Right? They haven't broken that wind open yet. Playing no matter what, just playing in the game and playing in practice, even if you got refs, and it's just different. So maybe the Celtics come off with a 7-8 point lead to start the game. I think the Knicks will climb back in it. And then everything's going to depend on what the coaches are feeling and who they decide to play. So I'm not predicting any kind of wins or losses, but I really am focusing on the first quarter, maybe even the first half, because, that's normally when both teams will play their starters and their rotation, and then maybe you see it dissipate in the second half. So I'm really going to pay attention to that first half, see how things look. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to say to you, I see some people saying in the chat that they're trying to get up with us at Legends or anything. Well, look forward this week. We have a couple of things coming out. On October the 21st, we're going to do a season kickoff event at Legends. That's a Saturday. All right, because we had to cancel the kickoff cookout because of weather, right? They were forecasting rain, so we didn't want people out there in the rain, and I didn't want my equipment out there in the rain. All right, so we postponed it, and we're doing a kickoff event at Legends. It's going to be free of charge. All right, you'll get a link so that you can register, so we know how many people are going to be there. That way, we can let Legends know how to staff the bar. You know what I mean? We're going to do that. Then we're going to have for opening night. We're going to do an event for opening night, and then obviously on November the 1st, the Knicks versus the Cavs. There's only like 2 tickets left, so if you're going to get your tickets, you better take advantage of it now. The link is in the description of the video. It's also tagged to the top of your YouTube chat. But 3 dope events that's going to be going on over the next month, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see you guys out there. But the kickoff event, it's going to be dope. We're actually talking about doing, at the same time that we're doing the kickoff event, doing a fantasy, drafting for our fantasy basketball league too, right? So, we're going to have some fun. Make sure you come out and join us. Any last words before we get up out of here, Tony?
Jigga Man, he just said no Hart and no Ryan A tonight.
Oh, no Hart and no Archie Diacono. Okay.
That's the Knicks and Bruises update. The Knicks and Bruises injury report.
There you go. No Hart and no Ryan A. So that leaves some room in that second unit for somebody, right? For Jericho Sims, for Deuce, right? Leave some room for those guys to play a little bit. All right. So nice little update.
Hey, Deuce on Triple P, Peyton might need
we'll
Deuce
see.
on him.
I mean, listen, Deuce has an uphill battle. You know what I'm saying? So, any minutes that he can get, he's got to capitalize on it big time. You know what I'm saying? He's got to capitalize on it big time. Any minutes he can get, right? Hector Gaston said Jalen Martin. I would love to see Jalen Martin play, but I don't think he's going to get much playing time. You know what I'm saying? I don't think so. I think, he's got a lot to work on. He's got a lot of growing to do. I think one day he's going to be a good basketball player, but I'd be surprised if he plays over Deuce right now. That's just the Tom Thibodeau way, right? I've been with Deuce. I got Deuce here. I'm going to play Deuce. Like, you've got to beat Deuce out. Deuce has the upper hand. You got to beat him. You got to prove to me that you deserve to play over him. That's how he does it. That's how he does it. So, yep. And I see it from Steph Bondi, Josh Hart, and Ryan Arcidiacono are out tonight. They're healthy, but they're sitting. Okay, so let me ask you this. They're healthy but they're sitting. What'd you say?
Healthy scratch is what they call it.
Yeah, healthy scratch, right? So, does this say to you that Tom Thibodeau wants to see, not that he's not considering them, but like if Josh Hart is there, I got to play him. Not that he has to play him, but if Josh Hart is here, I'm going to play him. So I'm going to sit Josh Hart so that I can see Deuce or so that I can see Jericho Sims or I can see whatever lineups.
Other guys. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But my question would be, why is Ryan sitting? You know what I mean? Like, one of my things I wanted to ask on Knicks and Bruises earlier, like, do you see a situation where Ryan gets the job and he's maybe not the best guy for the job? You know what I mean? Because of his ties.
Yep.
To me, that would be disheartening. Like, I would hate for us to do that, especially if there's a more qualified person to be on the roster.
Yeah. I would hate for us to do that too, because I want the best players out there. But I can definitely see that happening. I'm not even going to hold you. I could definitely see that happening. It's just
the reality of the league now. That's the league. It's about those relationships. Giannis got his brother on the team, both his brothers now on the team in Milwaukee. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yep, I can see it happening 100%. That he gets the spot. We got enough 6'4" guards, but I can see that he gets that spot. I can see it happening. You know what I mean? Just out of, oh, yeah, Villanova boys. Yep, you're staying. You know, I don't like it because I don't like it at all because we need, it's just certain players that we need. Certain, we need certain people, but.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, if you letting a 6'8", 6'7", 6'9" guy go, you know what I mean, for a guy who potentially you're not playing, but it's here for, I call it the Theo Penson hire.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. Exactly. Kevin.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Kevin, you're right. Might as well add Fournier to that list. He's a healthy scratch too. Yeah, I agree with you.
Tony, what I was going to say is, what if the Knicks are not looking at it or thinking that 15th man or whoever that is more valuable to the team than maybe that 6'8", 6'9" person who they're looking at it from a whole team perspective of maybe this is not going to help us on the court because we don't have that 6'8" guy, but in the locker room, the camaraderie, that also something that you need to think about when you build a team as well.
I think that's a fair point. But again, we lack size. You know what I mean? We lack height. Now, I'm not just saying just bring in a 6'9" guy because he's 6'9", and you know what I mean? But if it's a guy that is potentially a better player and brings an attribute that we're missing, I'd rather him take the long road and try to make it into the rotation than a guy who's here because he grew up with, you know what I mean? He came up with the other three guys on the team.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, the Knicks are going to make that decision anyway. They're the ones that see, and I think, I mean, this is something you would say. I'm surprised I'm telling you this, but you would have to assume that the Knicks are operating in good faith, right? And they're not sabotaging the Knicks on the floor for something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're sabotaging. I don't think so. I mean, you've seen how many times he's been waived.
And that's what I was going to say. Even if he's there, they'll let him go in a heartbeat if they have to. So I do acknowledge that.
Yeah.
He's been back and forth like 3 times in one season.
Yeah, no doubt. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here so the Queen's Court can get started. All right. And actually, the link is going to take you right on over to the Queen's Court. So make sure you join in. We're out of here, folks. We'll catch you on the post-game show. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK.